So in this tutorial I'll be showing you how to make the Amelia Posy. The Amelia Posy is intended for small bridesmaids from the age of about 6 to about 10, maybe 9 or 10. It's only got 7 flowers in it. It's quite a petite bouquet, and including the leaves it's about 18 centimetres wide. You can make this arrangement using any book and any colour combination that you like. In this one I'm going to be using ivory and a dusty pink colour. But do remember, you can choose your own colours to suit your own colour scheme. So let's get started. So to make the Amelia Posy, you will need to have my standard template. You can download this free of charge, the link is in my video description. And for the Amelia Posy, we will be using petal template number 1 and leaf template number 1. You'll also need the standard range of glues, some wallpaper paste, some regular white craft glue, PVA glue, and some high-tack glue as well. The link to mix up the wallpaper paste is also in the video description. You can buy it ready-made, or you can buy the flakes, which is a lot cheaper, and you can just mix up what you need. Paper-wise, you'll need an old book to make your book page roses. And you'll also need 2 sheets of A4 paper, one in shade 1 for your centre rose, and one in shade 2 for your rosebuds. You can make your centre rose and your rosebuds from the same colour. You'll also need a small piece of coloured paper for the leaves. Now, quite often I use the same colour as the centre rose, and sometimes I'll use green leaves. You'll also need some kitchen foil to make the stems, some regular white sewing thread. If you don't have white thread, any other light coloured thread will do. And you'll need some florist tape as well. This is just a regular dark green florist tape. Ribbon wise, you'll need to have some of this Oasis waterproof ribbon. This is 5 centimetres wide and comes on big rolls. I do believe you can buy short lengths if you need to, in which case you'll need about 2 or 3 metres, perhaps 3, more like 3. And this is a sort of ribbon that you can tear very easily. It's like a curling ribbon. You'll also need some single-sided ribbon. I like this ribbon to be single-sided for the binding of the handpiece because it's a bit more giving when you are, let me use this one, when you're winding it up the stem. And you'll also need some matching ribbon, and this can be double-sided ribbon for the trailing ribbons. So in preparation to make the Amelia Posy, you will first off need to make sure that you've bookmarked the Bouquet Toolkit, where I have given detailed instructions on how to make all of the components for this arrangement. Now, the reason I've done this is because I end up repeating myself in every single tutorial. So in preparation to make the Amelia Posy, you will need to make 7 foil stems. Full details on how to do this is in the Bouquet Toolkit, and I'll put the link in the video description. And on these 7 stems you will need to make 3 of my standard novella roses on foil and part bind them with florist tape. And you'll also need to make 1 English coloured paper rose, and this should be part bound as well. All of the instructions to make up these roses is in the Bouquet Toolkit, and the reason it's in there is because I keep repeating myself in all the videos because all of the components are very similar. You'll also need to have 3 rosebuds, You'll also need to cut 6 loose leaves, and I like to put the little notches in these leaves. Details on how to cut these is in Bouquet Toolkit part 4, but it's very simple. You just cut around the template and put some notches in. So using the Bouquet Toolkit, what you'll need to do is create 1 English rose on foil from coloured paper. You'll need to create 3 book page roses, my standard novella book page roses, on foil and part bound. And you'll also need to create 3 rosebuds, my standard size rosebuds, on foil and part bound. Now the assembly of this posy is very simple. All you need to do is to take your English rose and then, holding the stems together, we want to arrange our book page roses around the edge. Don't worry too much about the alignment for now, we can adjust that shortly. And at about 6 centimetres down the book page roses, we'll take some florist tape, just wind that around tightly to hold them in place. And this is when we can start arranging the flowers. Straighten up the middle rows and then adjust the 3 book roses by pulling them up or pulling them down so that they sit in a nice triangular pattern around the rose. We want the flower heads to face up a little bit, so you can pull the stems out a little bit so that there's a slight bend if you need to. But we want to make sure the gap is even around here. And then into those gaps we'll place the rosebuds and bind them to the rest of the flowers using the florist tape. And we just pop each of the rosebuds into the gaps and bind them with the florist tape. Now don't cut off the florist tape yet, because we need to make sure that these are sitting nicely, and that will just take a little bit of pulling from the bottom and pulling from the top. Until all of the flowers are set just nicely in a very simple arrangement. And then we will wind down the florist tape a little bit further, just to make sure they're all held in place. So I'm going to wind that down about 6 centimetres, and then I'll trim all the stems off to be the same length. And then continue winding the florist tape down. All the way over the edge. Fold the florist tape over itself so that it covers all of the foil. Snip off the florist tape. Add a little bit of PVA glue. And then simply wind it around itself. So for the ribbon loops, we need to cut 3 lengths of single-sided satin at 24 centimetres, and we also need to cut 3 lengths the same size from our waterproof ribbon. Using a stapler, just staple those into a loop. fold them over themselves to create a loop and just staple them at the bottom. Have your PVA glue to hand, and wherever there's a bud, what we want to do is line up our ribbon, satin ribbon, on the handpiece so that it nestles against the rosebud, and using your sewing thread just bind that in place. Now you can add a little bit of PVA glue just to hold it all in place when it dries, and just work your way around the posy, and wherever there's a bud you just need to add a ribbon loop. You can adjust the ribbon loops to make sure that they cover the stems and tighten up again by pulling the thread. Now next to each of the book page roses we want to add the waterproof ribbon loops, and the same process, hold it in place and pull the thread around. Now they might slide to one side, just pull them back and tighten the thread. Just keep adjusting it until it's in exactly the right place. I like to make sure that the staple, folded bits of the staple, are on the inside. If it flips down as you're pulling it tight, it'll just flip back up very easily. You need to keep the tension on the thread or it will start to unravel, and it can be a little bit fiddly to do that, but it's not impossible. The whole reason I use the thread to bind is because it's the easiest way to make sure everything is held in place. So once all the ribbon loops are in place, wind that thread around, I don't know, 6 or 7 times, and then bring it down until it touches the florist tape. Snip it off and add some PVA glue all along the thread and the lower portion of the ribbon. So our arrangement is ready apart from adding the leaves and the binding. So for the binding step you need to go and check out the Bouquet Toolkit, and that will show you how to fully bind the stem with an underbinding and a woven satin ribbon binding. Again, I'm not going to completely go over all that in this tutorial because I'm going to just end up repeating myself again and again. So the Amelia Posy has 2 leaves set on the book page roses, like so, around the edges. So what I would normally do is use my high tack glue, pop a little bit on the bottom here, like so, and then position it on the book page rose. And I like to have 2, one popping out either side, to kind of nestle where the buds are. Now this high tack glue, it does dry fairly quickly, however not so quickly that you can't readjust it once they're all in place. So if you work quickly, just pop in the leaves in place. I like to have them sticking out about 2 centimeters from the edge of the rose. Twirl the posy around and adjust the leaves accordingly. It's always a good idea to try and get them to catch more than 1 petal with the glue. But yeah, The trailing ribbon around it can be as long or as short as you like. Now bear in mind these have been designed for flower girls, so I wouldn't make them too long, just in case. Health and safety and all that. And I simply take the length of ribbon and tie it around the handpiece. Now you can tie it in a bow if you prefer, or you could add a second length of ribbon just by adding it around the top of the handpiece. So I hope that's given you enough information so that you can make your own Amelia Posy. This is a lovely little posy which has been designed for smaller children, perhaps up to the age of 8 or 9, but no younger than 4 or 5 I would have thought, because there are, you know, trailing ribbons and things like that. But please use your own judgment on that. They also make lovely little table centerpieces as well. And they're very inexpensive to make, so you know, if you're looking to put flower arrangements on all of your tables, these would be absolutely ideal. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have, do give me a thumbs up. Your support is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to add it to your watch later playlist if you plan to make it at another time.